This morning, let's explore illusion-like circumstance. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning we will chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two, but first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Once again this morning we could explore illusion-like circumstance that you too could meditate like a Jedi. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about meditation or philosophy or even chanting, there's no need to be shy. Simply type your question in the chat window on the right-hand side of the screen. Unless, of course, you're watching a replay, then you'll want to type your question in the comment area below the video. In the 13th passage of Heart Treasure of the Enlightened Ones, the final meditation manual composed by Dzogchen Rinpoche, a great Tibetan Buddhist yogi from the late 1800s, translated by the Padmakara group, adapted and amplified by yours truly. We read, all phenomena are like magical illusions, said the Buddhas, but these days the illusions are more illusory than ever. Trickeries conjured up by devious illusionists. Beware of the illusions of this degenerate age's ways, which feels a trifle like a tongue twister, doesn't it? So when the Buddha taught all phenomena are like magical illusions, he taught that things seem more permanent than they are. And things that seem permanent seem safe to grasp. Things that seem temporary don't seem as wise or reliable to grasp upon. That doesn't stop us, but it's a step in the right direction. Of all the various topics we can contemplate in order to let go, none leaves an impression quite as deep as that of impermanence. Just like in the mud in the forest, no footprint is bigger or deeper than that made by the elephant. But these days, the illusions are more illusory than ever. Now, this was written in the late 1800s. You know, back then there was the printing press, and there was the steampunk of the Industrial Revolution. How much more so now? On one hand, to the discerning person, you know, social media just makes things seem more temporary. Someone who is popular this month is out of vogue by next month. A beloved celebrity after 10 years is disgraced by something they posted 20 or 30 years ago. However, the part of us that grasps is older than the part of us that reasons, at least in terms of evolutionary biology. As a primate, we are born grasping. If you are playing with an infant and you place your finger in an infant's palm, it will instinctively grab onto it so intensely that if you do that with both palms and lift your fingers, you can lift the infant. And that is true more times than it's not. If it's true for human infants, how much more is it true for the great apes, like silverback gorillas or chimpanzees or bonobos? For they would literally hold onto their mother's back as their mother's walking, using all fours to walk through the forest or climb through the trees if you're dealing with monkeys. Monkeys have tails, apes do not. Anyway, so we are wired to grasp, but I promised our initial, let's face it, primates have a prefrontal cortex. So at the very beginning of sentience, there was perception. And when our ancestors were but life forms adhering to the surface of the bottom of the primordial ocean, when a food particle would come by, they would grab it and eat it. When a predator would come by, they would constrict and retract. And so we see the beginning of pushing and pulling and aversion and avarice, even back in the primordial slime. So this is hardwired into us. Trickeries conjured up by devious illusionists. In contemporary economics, the discerning can recognize that capitalism is younger than it seems. Our contemporary perspective of capitalism is but a few hundred years old, if that. And yet it keeps crashing like clockwork every X number of years. And it is prone not only to crashing, but to inequity and disparity, where people with doing equal amounts of labor are receiving unequal amounts of fruits of their labor. Or people are being exploited, and there's wage theft, and this and that. In order to keep things in place, it's very much like the throne room in Wizard of Oz, where there's a very great, impressive facade, green with fangs and flames, and off in the corner there's a little fat man behind a curtain, frantically operating dials and switches and pumps and the like. And then Toto comes by, pulls back the curtain, and the great and powerful Oz says, "Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain," doesn't he? That is just one of many areas where people are being told, do as we say, pay no attention to the facts. We live in a society predicated upon deceit and manipulation. The wise will bear this in mind. I see your question, Dr. Darren. I will tend to you momentarily, and by the way, good morning. So, beware of the illusions of this degenerate age's ways. So before I answer Dr. Darren's question, I would like to spend about 15 seconds on housekeeping. If there are lessons you'd like to request, or if you simply wish to support the continued availability of these classes, there is a Patreon link in the description area below the video. So, Dr. Darren asked a very good question. He wrote, "Good morning, Lama Jigme. You have suggested once or twice that we can participate in an extensive meditation schedule for 7 days to maximize practice. Can you share a recommended schedule? Any prerequisites, or can I start immediately?" Excellent, excellent question. There are some sadistic teachers out there who get off on setting people up for failure because by comparison it makes them seem so much more awesome, and that's called chasing elitism. I don't like that. I'm too much of a pussy for that. I want to set you up for success. So, if you ever saw the movie Contact, which starring Jodie Foster, based upon a novel by Dr. Carl Sagan, you'll remember the phrase, baby steps, Ellie, baby steps. So some people say that in a way to, once again, reinforce elitism, trying to set you up for success. The first step, practice once a day. Make it a habit so that you're used to it, your pets are used to it, your partner's used to it, because if they're anxious about your practicing, it's going to undermine your practice. In an interdependent universe where everything is affected by everything and everything affects everything in return, if not immediately, then eventually, if not overtly, then subtly, if not directly, then indirectly, if not actually, then potentially. In an interdependent universe, when people know that when you get up for meditation, you're going to be even more attentive and even more present, they'll encourage you to meditate. Step one, come to live stream once a day. After a month of that, once you're doing that every day, then either come to the live stream once every 12 hours or practice on your own every 12 hours and come to live stream once a day. You want to set yourself up so that, okay, every 12 hours this is just a habit now. Like brushing your teeth twice a day, or flossing your teeth twice a day, or taking your dog for a walk twice a day, because no one wants to get up in the morning and step barefoot in a pile of doggy doo. That's a hell of a way to start the day, is it not? So, when you're locked in, once you are comfortable with a Tai-Stay practice, and by the way, comfortable doesn't mean you endure it. This isn't a workout. You aren't a man in a gym doing a bench press with a rictus of agony on your face. That's not sustainable. It's supposed to be pleasurable. If this isn't pleasurable, then I've taken a wrong turn as a teacher. Let me know when it's not pleasurable for you, and I'll give you the hacks you need. So think of it this way. Allow me to work blue. Harken back to those halcyon days of junior high when Mother Nature tapped you on the shoulders and said, "Hey, it's time to shake hands with Mr. Happy." Was that a chore or was that a delight? It was pretty much a delight, if not a need. We want to feel the same way about a twice daily practice as a junior high kid feels about the wonders of puberty. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. So once you're locked into a twice day practice, and by the way, Dr. Matthew Maltz back in the 1900s talked about 21 days to a new you. If you can install a habit in 21 days, that's great. Most people take 30, but 21 days, that's great. Once again, so it's not just a habit, but it's a pleasurable thing you look forward to. Once you do that, then you can entertain the idea of a one-day retreat. So what is the ideal schedule for a one-day retreat? Simple. Arbitrarily. And you can fudge numbers around. But you want to make sure that your first and last sessions are approximately 12 hours apart. So, for instance, this is what I used to do before I started doing live streams. 6 a.m. study. And that could be as simple as transcribing a Dharma book. In fact, our founding fathers, when they were pretty intelligent fellows, the way they learned is they were given a book and they were told to transcribe it. And then they would have a discussion with their tutor every week or so. So transcribing a text is a wonderful way to learn. Don't use cursive writing, use printing or type it into your computer. So transcribing Dharma text is a wonderful way to go. Here is a good book you can find on Amazon if you poke around, is Teachings of the Buddha. Excellent book. At 7 o'clock, start your practice. So you want to, and you can fudge a little bit, for the chanting. But ideally, you want to make sure you get a solid hour of meditation. So if it's 50 minutes of transcribing and 10 minutes of chanting, that's fine. To me, that's fine. You want to do a solid hour of meditation. If meditating for an hour is not a delight, you probably aren't ready for a retreat. Give yourself time to not only get used to it, but enjoy it. So 6 a.m. study, 7 p.m. meditate. I'm sorry, take two. 7 a.m. meditate. 10 a.m. study. 11 a.m. meditate. 2 p.m. study. 3 p.m. meditate. 6 p.m. study or come to live stream. 7 p.m. meditate. So if you want to substitute a solo practice session for a live stream, then you only need to meditate or study for 30 to 45 minutes before that, because there is a lecture and that qualifies as about 15 minutes, give or take. No need to exhaust yourself. And one of the nice things about attending a live stream at least once a day is that you have someone to ask questions to. And if you ever have a complex question that you feel typing won't really do the deal for you, make arrangements and I'll live stream. Instead of using OBS software, I'll do it through Zoom. And that way you can ask me questions live. And it'll be, my face will be in one corner and next to it will be your face, kind of like the Brady Bunch. And so if ever you have something complex and you want to ask questions audibly as opposed to typing, I'm open to that. It's not mandatory. Some people really enjoy the anonymity of typing, and I totally respect that. So either way, the reason I do that is because that way the answer to your question is saved on YouTube and other people hopefully can profit from it. I only have so much time and energy, and I have to use my time as strategically as possible. I hope that makes sense. Yes, transcribe means copy by hand. So you're not just doing a Xerox or scanning it. You're either typing or you're using a pen and you're printing as opposed to cursive writing it. That's an excellent way to learn, because think about it. You're using your eyes, you're using your body, and if you're reciting it aloud, which is ideal, you're using your ears. So you're getting a multidisciplinary approach to processing information. And if you're a word nerd like myself, who whenever he transcribes texts, reorganizes it into couplets and triplets and quatrains, the more you shuffle the data, the more apt you are to remember it and understand it. We are wired to play. Mammals play. Primates play. It's part of our learning. And by playing with the text, increases the probability of comprehension. So once you are comfortable with, once your pets and your partners are comfortable, and your children, if you have any, are comfortable with you doing a one-day retreat. Now, by the way, before you go into session, interface with your pet and your partner and your children, and then after each session, interface with them again. That way, number one, they won't feel abandoned. Number two, they'll like you more because you're just more loving and more energetic and more real. And they're like, dude, when's your next retreat? This is awesome. I love it. I love you even more when you're on retreat. So that's the way you do it. You want your pet and your partner to support you on this. It is heartrending if they don't. Once you've done your first one-day retreat, and by the way, when you start doing a twice-a-day practice and things come up in your practice, bring them to your teacher the next day or the next chance you get and get input. That's really how your learning curve grows. When you're like 50% with the teacher, 50% by yourself, that's like a kid learning to ride a bike and they're all wobbly. There's no substitute for that. So after you do your first one-day retreat, then it's time to plan your next one. You might want to do it quarterly or monthly or fortnightly or weekly. If once a week, like clockwork, you're doing a one-day retreat, not only are your pet and your partner going to get used to it, so will you. Then the next jump is a 2-day retreat, which makes sense, Saturday, Sunday. Our society is structured around that. And you can still get a lot of chores done during your meditation break. But now here's the leap. Once you and your partner and your pet are comfortable, truly comfortable with a regular 2-day retreat, quarterly or monthly or fortnightly or weekly, once that's locked in, then you can do a 7-day retreat. Most people have at least 1 week, not most, a certain percentage of the population has a 1-week vacation a year. I'm a little rusty on labor law. I'm not sure if it's everybody, but at least a certain demographic. So most people are able to plan that out 6 months ahead or 9 months ahead. Like, I've got a vacation coming up. That's great. So you want to plan a 7-day retreat once you're already comfortable with a 2-day retreat. If you can coerce yourself with goals and shoulds, but that will multiply your neurosis and undermine your meditation, so I don't recommend it. You want a retreat not to be a should, but something you're excited about. And so you have to nurture and protect your enthusiasm. It's a fragile thing. It doesn't feel that way. It feels robust and indestructible, but that is an illusion. So once you're comfortable with a 2-day retreat, then you can do a 7-day retreat. And your goal of a 7-day retreat is not to be a Marvel superhero. You don't need lightning bolts shooting out your eyes. The goal of a 7-day retreat is simply mastery of the techniques, mastery of the Eightfold Path. What does that mean? It means you are still feel the full spectrum of human emotions. You still feel sensations. You still feel experience flavors and scents and sounds and sights and the like. You still experience the full spectrum of emotions and intentions, reason, recollection, and imagination. But the goal is that by the time you finish the 7-day retreat, you're able to apply the techniques your teacher's been teaching you spontaneously and habitually and easily and effectively. You don't think twice about tying your shoe or flossing your teeth or brushing your teeth. You don't think twice about taking your dog for a walk and picking up the poop with a plastic bag. These things are hardwired into you at this point. They serve you well. That's what you're doing here. You're taking the Buddha's teachings and making them into a beneficial habit. Now, does that mean you'll never experience any pain in your life ever again? It does. You will still experience the full spectrum of human experience. You will still experience the repercussions of uncaring caregivers whose exploits occurred decades in the past. But you will be able to handle it with greater skill and aplomb and grace than you ever dreamt possible. Any other questions? Okay. I think I can take a moment to hose my nose for your entertainment. Okay, look at this puffy face. Oh my goodness. Okay, so. Well said, Obi-Wan. Well said. High five, psychic high five to Dr. Duran. So I'm checking the time. It's 27 minutes after the hour. So, quick like a bunny, I'm going to tap button 9. And I'm going to make a quick change behind the scenes. Let's go to, what am I looking for? Something going on around here. There it is, okay. Okay, let us chant words of love and enthusiasm. May I liberate all beings by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Quick like a bunny, let us chant the 16 pages of the Heart of Wisdom Sutra. The enlightening being who notices the hearts of the world while moving in the deep peace of perfect understanding, shed light on the 5 aggregates and found them equally empty. After this realization, she overcame all pain. Listen, Shariputra, form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Form does not differ from emptiness, emptiness does not differ from form. The same is true with feelings, appraisal, impulse, and awareness. Listen, Shariputra, all phenomena are marked with emptiness. They are neither produced nor destroyed, neither corrupted nor purified, neither increasing nor decreasing. Therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no appraisal, no impulse, no awareness. No sensation, no flavor, no scent, no sound, no sight, no phenomena. No body, no tongue, no nose, no ears, no eyes, no mind. No feeling, no tasting, no smelling, no hearing, no seeing, no noticing. No interdependent origins and no extinction of them from confusion to old age and death. No stress, no exacerbation, no liberation, no path, no understanding, no attainment. Because there is no attainment, the Bodhisattva supported. By the perfection of understanding, find no obstacles for their minds. Having no obstacles, they overcome fear, liberating themselves forever from illusion and realizing perfect nirvana. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future, thanks to this perfect understanding, arrive at full right in universal enlightenment. Therefore, one should know that perfect understanding is a great mantra, is the unequaled mantra, the destroyer of all sufferings, the incorruptible truth. A mantra prajnaparamita should therefore be proclaimed. This is the mantra gate gate bara samgate buddhi swaha. Gone completely and perfectly gone to enlightenment, may it be so. One moment, if you please. File, save as. (31st). Oops. Now let's make sure that the display is synchronized. Quick review. Our core practice of mindfulness and meditation is as follows. As we inhale, we silently and mentally recite, "Notice this." And as we exhale, we silently and mentally recite, "Relaxing." Why would we do that? During every inhalation, we access our sympathetic nervous system, which is wired to support the sensory acuity that helps us to notice. It helps us to feel, taste, smell, see, hear, and the like, as well as notice our emotion, intention, thought, reason, recollection, and imagination. In fact, when we perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly, then the only label we need ever use is simply the pronoun this. Well, what are we to do with all that stuff we notice? Glad you asked. During every exhalation, we inadvertently access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is wired to both physically relax as well as mentally release our resistance to the stressors in our lives. We'll find that we release our resistance to the presence of things we hate. We find we release our resistance to the absence of things we crave. We find that we release our resistance to the loss of that to which we cling. That doesn't mean those things are no longer painful. It means we've made peace with them. We're experiencing less resistance. Now, there will be times when we find ourselves in turmoil. We find ourselves agitated or drowsy or pushing or pulling. And when we do that, we can do a micro-contemplation as opposed to a microaggression. A micro-contemplation. So for 4 breath, during the first breath, we would ask, how could this feel stressful? During the second breath, now for all, soothe all stress. Third breath, how could this never last? Fourth breath, how could this not be me? 3/4 of these are rhetorical questions. It is not our job to answer these questions. These questions are just tools to help us to let go. Unless this class was taught by Samuel Jackson, then it would be these questions are just tools to help us let the fuck go. So now you have it. You have meditation and you have contemplation. If you only had 1 page, this would help you to complete the path. It's 36 minutes after the hour. Cowabunga. Cowabunga, dude. So let's return to the subject of a 7-day retreat. I mentioned offhand meditating for an hour at a time. So what is the path to accomplish that? Simple. First week, meditate once every 12 hours for 5 minutes. When you feel comfortable with that, then bump it up to 10 minutes. Next week, bump it up to 15 minutes. And within weeks, you could be up to speed. So the purpose of these 4 contemplative questions is not to undermine our mindfulness, but to undermine our resistance and to make peace with whatever befalls us. If you've just joined us, our go-to meditation is notice this relaxing. When you feel yourself in turmoil or agitation or fatigue, when you feel yourself stuck in aversion or avarice, pulling or pushing, then I recommend doing these 4 contemplations, 1 breath each. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness flow spontaneous and uncontrived. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. Approximately 10.5 hours, we could return to explore time, training, and meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the